Hey guys, quick heads up. Before we dive in, just remember everything you're about to hear is purely subjective. That means it's based on personal opinions, wild experiences, and a few unfiltered thoughts. So, if you're looking for hard facts or official advice, well, you might want to look somewhere else. We're here for real talk, not right answers. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and feel free to agree, disagree, or just laugh at the chaos. All right, let's get into the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the Subjective Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle, and today, I know I say we always have a very special episode, but to me, it's always very special. I'm by myself today, and as you can see, we have switched up the location. I'm actually in my bed because on a typical Thursday night, I would be showered, I've done my skincare in my pajamas, in the bed, scrolling on TikTok, drinking a little soda, and watching my shows. So I've just replaced my shows tonight with recording this podcast, and I want it to be comfy and cozy, and like, how much closer could you get than in your bed? And honestly, I really enjoy this vibe already. I really like this setup, and on solo episodes, I might actually just keep it. Now, like I said, I'm in my PJs. After this, I'll be ready for bed. However, I did put on a bra for the optics, but whatever. And yeah, like, first of all, let's catch up because it's been a while. I didn't post an episode at the end of March, and let me explain why. So, I planned this episode, I recorded a whole entire episode, and it was called What the Fuck is Going On in Politics? And essentially, I just did like a full debrief on everything that's been going on in Washington since the beginning of the year. And after I finished recording, I just felt so lackluster, blah. Like the episode, the topics, all of the shit just made me not feel good. And I didn't feel good about the episode. And I just felt like there was so much negativity in that episode because when you're talking about what's going on in politics, like, how could it not be negativity? But also, I'm very passionate, so I was getting all worked up. And then afterwards, I just felt drained. And I was like, okay, well, I was telling myself this is the last like political episode I'm going to do because I'm just tired of talking about it and there's just nothing good to say. And although I don't mind speaking on topics, like, I just don't want to talk about negative shit all the time. So I literally uploaded all the footage to my computer and I was like, I just don't love this. I still haven't even watched the footage, but I just knew that it wasn't my best work and I didn't want to put that out to the world to see, and I wasn't proud of it. So therefore it's still on my computer, and I actually might watch it just to see, but that's why we didn't have an episode. And then I wasn't about to like try to stress myself out and re-record something else. Like, I just said, F it, we'll skip to this one. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a little State of the Union, catch up on everything that's happened in Q1, everything that's going on, kind of talk a little bit about Q2. I did this at the end of Q4 and you guys seem to really like that episode, probably because I end up telling you guys all of my business. So that's what we're going to do today. I can literally hear Nova barking. Be quiet, Nova. I think the trash people are outside. They always make her bark. Anyway, so before we get into all of the good shit from the episode, this is just your friendly reminder that if you are watching on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends, leave a comment, whatever you have to do. Also, if you're listening on audio, so that's Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to subscribe, leave a rating, hopefully 5 stars, but whatever you have to say, just say it with your chest. That's cool. And in addition, if you haven't already subscribed to my Substack, that's where I just talk a little bit more shit. I'll post little debriefs after each episode, and I'm probably going to start posting on there a little bit more. So be sure to do that. And if you're not already, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at The Subjective Pod. I think that covers everything. So let's get into all of the good stuff. So, first of all, how the fuck is it already Q2? How is it April? That's insane. A Q1 was quite a whirlwind. Honestly, that's probably a little bit dramatic, but I just feel like it went by extremely, extremely fast. And for me, Q1's always like a free trial. Like it's just an opportunity to get myself back in the swing of things and prep for a new year. So that's essentially what I did. But there was a few things that happened that came up. So we're going to talk about them. You guys know me. I have me an outline because I have so much shit to say and I just don't want to forget anything. But we're not just going to talk about my life. I'm going to even talk about some things that I love this month. And then we're also going to talk about the podcast and do a little podcast wrapped from Q1. So I think that'll be fun. So I would say that I really kicked off this year. I had really strong intentions. I wanted to be more consistent in my life, my routines, all of the things. And I had really good intentions. And I will say I've worked towards it, but I didn't necessarily knock it out the park. Isn't that what people say? So it's been a little bit of a struggle, especially staying consistent. Now, I'm not trying to blame everything on my ADHD, although I do think it is a contributor, but I have just felt like I have no motivation. I have no get up and go. Like, I just don't feel like doing shit most of the time. And so that's been a struggle because I have to literally make myself do things. I even was feeling like bored in my home office. So I've been like working from my living room because I just don't feel like being in there. So I don't know what that's about, but whatever. I just be going with the flow. Last episode, well, the last like update for the quarter, I think I was talking about how I just couldn't figure out like a good workout that I've been enjoying. Well, update. I started going to Core Power. Y'all, let me explain something to you. So the majority of the time I go to Yoga Sculpt. I've tried the Core Power Yoga. I tried Hot Power Fusion, which both of those are more like yoga-y. And I don't really enjoy those. And then I also tried like the strength classes, which I really like those, but they're always at like 7 in the morning and I just don't usually want to work out that early. But Yoga Sculpt. Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start. First of all, it's an amazing workout, but let me just set the scene for you. So you're in this room that is heated to literally 100 degrees. I don't know if it's actually 100 degrees, but it feels like 100 degrees. It is so hot in there. And it's a like hybrid fusion workout of like sculpt, weights, and then like yoga mixed in and in between. So it's really kind of like you get a lot in one workout, but it's not full yoga. It is a literal workout. Like, oh my God, it's so good, but it is so fucking hard. Like, I don't know if you've ever worked out in 100 degrees, but it will have you drenched in sweat from head to toe. And I know this sounds disgusting, but like, I get so sweaty in that workout that like when I come home to shower and like take my clothes off, I literally have to let my clothes air dry before I put them in the dirty clothes because you are soaked. It is actually insane. I've never sweat that much, but it is such a great workout. Honestly, it's exhausting. It's an hour long. I literally can only go like 3 times a week because between all of that and the heat, whew, but I really love it. I really enjoy it. I'm going to keep going. And yeah, like it doesn't make my back hurt. It doesn't make it flare up. So that's always a plus. So I've really been enjoying that. I highly recommend if you have a core power in your area, you should definitely try it because it is a good one. Now, I'm still obviously on my little health and fitness journey because I want to be a size 2T by the summer. And the summer is going to be here in 3 months. Actually, I'll say by my birthday, so June 30th, size 2T. So we'll see, and I'll update you guys on that progress. But I feel like I've been on a freaking fitness journey my entire adult life, so I guess it never ends. But, one day I will be the size skinny that I want to be, and then hopefully I don't have to talk about this anymore. Now, I will say, spiritually, emotionally, things have been up and down. Spiritually, I'm always working on my relationship with God and always trying to figure out how I can put God first, make him the center of my life. So I've been figuring out like new devotionals I want to read. I do that every morning. And then I also have been using the Bible Project to study the Bible a little bit more. And I got a new app. What is that app called? I used to just use like the Bible app. I've been using the Life Bible app and I really like it. It's very similar, but it has a little bit, a few different features, but I really do like it and I've been trying that out. So that's been good. Now let's go month to month and debrief. Now, I do not live a chaotic life like I used to, so there's not that much stuff that happens in a month. But in January, I went on a mother-daughter trip with my mom to Punta Cana, and that was really fun. And I was really proud because that was the first trip that I was able to pay for my mom and take her. Like we've been on trips together, but it wasn't me paying for the trip for both of us. So I was really proud of that. And it was essentially like her birthday trip, which her birthday's in December, but we just went a little bit later. And it was very relaxing. We rested. We spent so much time on the beach. I think my tan has gone away now, but I got such a good tan. And then in February, I was so overstimulated because I went to New York for work and that was like a quick trip, but it was literally right after I had came back from Punta Cana. And every time I go on work trips, like I get so overstimulated because I've already mentioned it here before, but like I work from home and I've worked from home for a really long time at this point, and I end up being in like a lot of meetings and on calls and stuff, but it is so much different in person and then in New York City. But one thing I will say is that I found such good sushi in New York, and I cannot remember the name of that place, but I have been on a sushi kick. So I was like determined, and I literally ordered that sushi every night to my hotel via DoorDash. So there was that. And then in March, what happened? I think in March is that March is when I met my boyfriend's family, and they were literally everything that I dreamed my future husband's family would be. Like just so warm, so welcoming, so sweet. Like it felt like I had known them my whole life, and like they didn't treat me like a new random person in their house. And it also wasn't like a grill session of asking me a bunch of questions. It was just amazing. Like I literally was like, when are we going to go back and see your family, to my boyfriend? But I had like kind of talked to his sister here and there, like when he was on the phone with her and stuff, but this was like our first time really meeting each other officially, and some of his other family members. So that was really the highlight of March. I also, I've been spending the month planning LJ's birthday, which is in April. It's in not next week, but the week after that. So that has been enjoyable. We're going on a trip for his birthday. And then other than that, I've just been trying to hold my life together. I'm in a little transition season of trying to figure out like what is it that I want to do next. I have been at my job now, I think, for like 4 years, and I think I'm just ready for something new, different, exciting. So I've been back and forth thinking about that. Also, just thinking about like what are the things that I can do to really make this podcast better. And I think when I started this, I had one vision, but then as you start doing it and figuring everything out and learning your style, it's easy for that to change and evolve. And so I think that is the season that we're in. So I there's going to definitely be like a lot more solo episodes and things like that because I just want this podcast to be real and authentic to me, and I don't want it to become like an interviewee style podcast. I just want it to be more about real life. So what that looks like is probably people that are going to be guests are going to be people that I know, my family, my friends, things like that, where we can talk about topics and just get into them without like having to do an interview. So you guys will probably see me trial and error some things and we'll see how that goes. And then there's some other new stuff that I'm doing that I don't want to talk about yet, but I will eventually. And yeah, I feel like Q1 was very overwhelming. I've been feeling very overwhelmed just because I always feel like there's so much to do and so many things to get done. And then I just don't know where to start most of the time. Um, Nova has also been stressing me out, which, if you guys don't know, Nova is my little pup. Obsessed with her, love her. But I realized that since I've had her, I usually will go home with her to my mom's and then I'll leave her at my mom's for like a month so I can take a little break off. And I have not done that. I don't think I did it at all in 2024. And I think that's what the problem is because Nova is extremely, extremely clingy. So she could easily get annoying. And I think that's where we're at. But hopefully, she's gonna go to the dog sitter when we go on LJ's birthday trip, and maybe that'll be the break. But regardless, I think I'm gonna go home in May, and I think Nova's staying there until my birthday. So, Mom, if you're watching this, just a little FYI, heads up. And then other than that, what else? Oh, I was gonna do I forget if I talked about this in my Q4 update when I was like talking about my goals, but one of my goals was really to get rid of shit, declutter my apartment because when my lease is up in December, I just want to not have so much stuff. And then also my spending. Oh my God. I need to do that in one episode, but I wish that I could show you guys how much money I was spending like in 2024 on like shopping, eating out. Those were my main categories. So this year I was like, you know what? I want to live like a minimalist lifestyle. I'm going to use up all the products I have. I'm going to wear the stuff I have. I'm not going to be shopping, blah, blah, blah. And I have done so good and I'm so proud of myself. I think I have saved almost probably close to $10,000 in Q1, which I never thought I would be able to say that. So I literally had to like delete all the apps from my phone and just vibe out. And it's also become fun. Like it's a little challenge, like trying to use up all my skincare products and body care products and shopping my own closet. That has been fun. But the decluttering is really stressing me out because I feel like I keep getting rid of so much stuff, but I don't feel like my space feels like clearer. And so I think just yesterday I like pulled out my summer clothes and I'm getting rid of all this stuff. I have 3 huge black trash bags of clothes and I still feel like there's so much shit in my closet, and at this point I'm just like I'm about to just throw all of this away and just start from scratch because it's so overwhelming trying to get rid of stuff. But also I think that it's gonna feel good when I declutter everything in my house, not just clothes, because I just have accumulated so much stuff over the years. And my apartment has like 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2 closets. And when you have that much space and you live by yourself, you just start filling it up. So I'm trying to get that under control, but I'm really proud of that. And I'm going to challenge myself on my spending and see how much more I can save, because I'm excited about that now. So there's that. And then other than that, I've just been keeping busy with work, this podcast, another little personal project that I'm working on, planning these trips, just surviving. And sometimes that's really all you can do. So, whew, yeah, that was a little debrief of the quarter. Now, I want to talk about a few other things, because there was so many things that I literally enjoyed, TV, books, random obsessions this quarter, and I want to talk about it. So, first and foremost, I watched a shit ton of movies. Like, I genuinely couldn't even think back on all of the movies that I watched and I enjoyed. But I will say the most recent one, One Call Away. It's like a thriller, and it is literally so good, so chaotic, so yeah, just unpredictable. I think you should go watch that. And then I also went to the movies maybe like last week, and I saw The Woman in the Yard. Also, plot twisty, really good, and I enjoyed that movie. I watched Paradise on Hulu, and honestly, I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as I feel like everyone else did. Like, it just wasn't that, over the top for me. And I feel like I love anything that's like thriller, mystery, plot twist. And so I have really high expectations when it comes to that. But I did like Paradise, and I'm going to watch, any other seasons that come out. And I also liked, oh, trash TV. I watched Love is Blind, and I watched Temptation Island. I have nothing to say about Love is Blind. It was boring. The casting wasn't that great. But, there was a couple of people on there that were just very questionable. I didn't like Devin and Virginia. Virginia was boring to me, and Devin was a fucking Trump supporter, but he was scared to say it on TV, and that's weird. And he also didn't want to sign the prenup, and I didn't understand that. But the other ones were just boring, not interested, whatever. Now, Temptation Islands. First of all, that show is so messy. The whole concept is messy, and I love a little mess. But I will say, and honestly at this point, I don't even remember these people's names. What was that one girl's name? Grant and maybe Ashley. Ashley was that girl. She seen her man with that other bitch on that camera, and she said, "It's over." And she went to get her lick back. But I feel like she should have got her lick back even more in a over the top way. Now, Breon and Shantae, girl. First of all, that man embarrassed that woman so bad on TV. I have never seen anything like it in my life. And for her ass to leave with that man, it could never be me. In my head, I'm thinking, girl, if you knew you were going to get back with him, you should have just left. No, not left with him for television and got back with him later, because that man sat on camera and said, "Oh, it's fine what I'm doing. I'm just going to apologize. She's going to forgive me, and it's going to be okay." Sir, you clearly ain't shit, but that's fine. Now, let me tell you about the show that literally just did it for me. So, The Residents. Oh my gosh. It is like a whodunit murder mystery. And there's this really eccentric detective, and it's the lady. I forget what her name is, honestly. What is her name in real life? She's the lady who plays Crazy Eyes on Orange is the New Black. She is amazing. The whole show was amazing. The cast was amazing. The whole plot of it was amazing. But let me tell you what really added to it for me. If you watch this, and I have a very cinematic eye now because of my boyfriend, so I'm always watching like how the camera angles are and different things that they're doing with the video and the sound. Oh my gosh, the cinematography was so good. I was literally trying to Google who was behind the camera. It is so good. It's so captivating. And honestly, I was telling my boyfriend, like, if there was no talking, just the cameras, and you just seen the whole movie, it would still captivate me because that's how good the cinematography was. It was amazing on that alone. But the acting was incredible. Obviously, like the plot of a murder mystery isn't that groundbreaking, but it was all of the other elements that made it amazing. And honestly, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I wish that they would just do more seasons of it and have like different cases because it was so good. Obsessed. And other than that, I read a couple of books. So I finished A Flicker in the Dark, which was really good. That one is about a um girl, and she's like a therapist, and she has a dad who ended up being like a serial killer when she was younger. And so present day there is another girl that goes missing, and it the person has like the same signature as her dad, and it's really weird because she's like her dad's in jail, and so she's trying to figure out who it is. And she ends up thinking that it's her husband, and yada yada yada. I don't want to spoil it. Really good. A Flicker in the Dark. It's by Stacey Willingham. And then I read another one called Keep It in the Family by John Mars. And that one also, all the books I read were kind of like thrillery books, novels. So the Keep It in the Family was about this couple who went and they basically bought this house, and in the attic they ended up finding like dead bodies, and the story goes on, and basically the girl ends up figuring out like that it's her husband's family that has been doing these killings. So I'm not explaining these really well, but I swear these books are so good. Like they're the type of books that like what a movie or a show would do to you and like captivate you, it does it in a book, and like you won't want to put down what you're reading. So there's that. And the last book that I read is by a black author. I think her name was Tiffany Jackson, and that book was called The Weight of Blood, and it's about this girl named Maddie who is essentially extremely light skinned and passes as white until one day her fucking hair gets wet at school, and it like puffs up, and all the kids at school find out that she's black, and then they're all just fucking around with her and like making fun of her and basically bullying her, and then they all fucked around and found out. And that's all I'll say about that. That one's really good too. I think I'm gonna actually be reading more books from all these authors because I think they have like a certain genre, and I really enjoyed it. Other than that, I've listened to a couple of podcasts too. So I'm listening to a podcast called I'm sorry. I was about to say this out loud, and I'm like, damn, everything that I enjoyed had to do with like murder. But I love like true crime and just thrillers. Like, I just love it. But, anyways, so I listened to a podcast, and I'm still listening to Idaho Murders, which is essentially about the whole murders that happened at that college in Idaho. It's been a few years now. And the podcast that I'm listening to, I really like them because they did another podcast season on the Piketon County massacres, which is a really insane case. Like, if you've never heard of it, go look it up. I've also been listening to the Steve Harvey Morning Show, which I used to listen all the time, and I just got back into it. It's just great to like listen to while you're doing other stuff, or in the shower. And then I feel like I've mentioned this before too, but for my little morning debrief of news, I listen to Start Here. and it's like 20 minutes by ABC, and it gives you just like a briefing of what the fuck's happening in the news. So, love that. Random shit. I already talked about the Sunkiss. There is a ginger ale, and I think it's called like Fruit Splash, and it's the 0 calorie one. Delicious. LJ put me onto that. I Oh my god, you know what I have been enjoying? A fucking hot dog. Oh my god. So first of all, I've always loved me a glizzy, okay? But let me tell you, I have just got back into them and rediscovered them because I ordered food from Shake Shack and I got a hot dog. And the actual insert, like the actual glizz that's inside the bun, was so fucking delicious that I literally went online so I could Google search what kind of hot dogs they use. They were so good, and they were like all beef and all natural. And so then I was like, well, I need to find me an all beef, all natural hot dog. And I found some at Publix. And oh my God, let me tell you. And then if you get those Martin's potato buns, you put that glizzy in the air fryer and get it a little crisp on the edges. You pick that glizzy up, you put it in your bun, specifically the Martin's potato bun, and then you put your bun with your glizz back in the air fryer for a couple minutes, let your bun toast a little, and you put one little slither of ketchup. Oh my gosh, so good. I have been loving a fucking hot dog. I want to eat a hot dog after this. Oh my God. Hot dogs are so underrated, and they have come a long way since we were boiling them. Now that we have air fryers, baby, get you a hot dog. And this is really random, but Princess by Kilian has been my signature fragrance. It's so good. And don't even ask me about describing the notes and stuff, because I don't know. I just know that it smells delicious, and everyone that smells me when I have it on loves it. So there's that. Now, I'm going to take a little sip of a drink because I have been talking, which actually makes me think I don't fucking understand how Cory Booker spoke for 25 hours, because baby, I am a certified yapper. I couldn't have done it. My throat would have started getting dry. My knees would have started to buckle. I know I would have had to use the bathroom. That man said he fasted and he dehydrated himself for that. My knees would have been weak. There were so many things that wouldn't have worked for me, but the talking for that long is actually crazy. And he was just so positive and jolly and nice. I would have been like, first of all, motherfuckers, now that I have the floor, I have something to say. He was nice, but that's neither here nor there. However, shout out to him, because breaking that record was fucking amazing. The last person that broke that record was literally protesting the Civil Rights Act. And so for him to be black and get up on there and break that record is actually amazing. Like, proud moment. Okay, so now I actually want to go through the podcast and do a little subjective podcast wrapped, kind of like what Spotify does, and talk about some good shit that happened. So in Q1, I released 6 episodes, including my Black History month episodes. I did an episode with Jackie. I did an episode with my sister, and probably like a solo episode here or there. But I am actually proud of that, because I post bi-weekly, and so that kind of tracks like 2 episodes a month. But let me tell you, the best performing episode, the episode that everyone went crazy about, that actually I was so shocked, was my episode with my sister, from babysitter to bestie, growing up 11 part, or 11, I cannot talk. Growing up 11 years apart. That's the episode I did with my sister. And it is so crazy because, one, it's number 1 out of my episodes on all platforms with over 80 listens on podcast platforms, and 232 views on YouTube. And we had a TikTok that went viral-ish. I say viral-ish because I don't know what's the criteria for like something to go viral, but let me go look. Okay, so till this at this current point, the video has 16.1k views, 60 comments, 1,829 likes, and 174 comments. And let me tell you, I was reading through all the comments on this post. It still gets comments to this day, and I was responding to everyone. There were so many people in the comments who just related to that episode so much, and they were telling like their experiences with their siblings, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that episode is like the epitome of what I want this podcast to be. It was so raw, so real, so unscripted. Like, obviously, my sister started crying, which I knew she was going to start crying, but she said that she wasn't. But it just shows, like, her full personality and how she just has such big feelings. And I love that about her. And she is just able to express them in a way that I wish like I was able to when I was her age. So I was really proud of her on that episode for just being super vulnerable and like talking about how she feels. And it's crazy because when me and my sister planned that episode, it was never supposed to be like this sit down moment where we were hashing out that wasn't ever what the plan was. We really planned to just talk about our experience and what it was like growing up as sisters and 11 years apart, and you know, getting these different versions of my mom. Like, it was literally just a conversation that we would have any other regular day. So I was really happy about that, and I was like, this is exactly what I want this podcast to be. But in close second to that video with 199 views on YouTube was my Q2 update that I did at the end of Q4, which is why I assumed that you guys like these videos. So I also wanted to talk about some demographics because these blew my mind. So our listeners from Subjective are tuning in from all over the world, which is insane, mind-blowing, crazy. So with 92% are from the US, and we have a growing audience in Canada, Germany, Australia, South Africa, the Netherlands, India, France, Sweden, Russia, Jamaica, DR, Liberia, the United Arab Emirates, Norway, and the UK, which the UK really surprised me because there was over like 309 views on YouTube that came from the UK, and I was like, I wonder if those are my fucking coworkers. I don't know. But there was like 60 views from South Africa, 112 from Germany, and I'm like, how are people finding me in these countries? But we also had statewide in the US, we had viewers from Maryland, North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, West Virginia, DC, Virginia, Illinois, New York, Wisconsin, Texas, Kentucky, Missouri, Oregon, California, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Arizona, Arkansas, Massachusetts, and Michigan, which is insane. On podcast platforms, 85% of the listeners were female, 11% male. And on YouTube, it's actually 41% female and 59% male. So more men are watching on YouTube than women, which I was interested in that. Like, that was interesting. And the main ages are 28 to 34, but there's listeners across all ages, but that's like the main demographic. And then most of you guys are tuning in on YouTube, and one, that makes me happy because I take a lot of time on these videos and editing and doing the audio and all of that stuff. So I'm glad that people are watching. And in close second on Apple Podcasts, we have 57% of listeners. But also shout out to Spotify. 32% of you guys are on there. And honestly, all of you guys are helping my podcast grow. So I really appreciate that. And it has been such a labor of love. Like, I think this podcast was like my dream. I wish I would have done it sooner because I always say this, like, I'm a certified yapper. Anyone that knows me knows I deserve to be on a mic. I should be on a mic. Um, and it's just a full circle moment because who knew? Like, who knew? And I just think that it's going to keep growing and keep getting better. And I'm most excited to like build a community around it and like bring whoever's listening and watching along with me. That's why I really always try to encourage you guys commenting, and I always try my best to comment back. I love to get feedback, all of the things. Um, it has been something that I'm really proud of because I literally learned everything myself. What microphones to use, cameras, how to film, lighting, audio, recording, how to edit. Like, I've done every single piece and ounce of this podcast on my own, every outline, every idea. Like, I've done everything. My boyfriend has been super supportive and he's very helpful, and he will be helpful, but I always have told him like I just want to do this on my own so I could see if I could do it. So I'm really excited about that. I just now I'm like working on developing like better systems and workflows so that I can like be consistent, not get behind. And I'm really trying to just use like all of my natural strengths. And yeah, just building the brand. I don't want Subjective to just be a podcast. Like, I want it to be more than that. And so I'm excited to see like what happens there. There are a few things that I feel like I need to work on. So just getting my editing workflow down, because I feel like that is what takes me the longest time. And also, I am such a perfectionist that it literally makes me end up spending 10 times more time and effort on things that probably could have only taken like, an hour. So I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to give myself grace. I want to try not to overcomplicate things. Like, I am also really bad at like over planning so much to the point that I don't actually do what the plan was. And so I'm trying to just like do more action and stop planning so much, which is really difficult because if you know me, like, my whole personality, what my career is, like, it's hard to get my mindset out of planning only. So I'm working on that. Um, there's a lot of shit that you guys don't see. You guys do not see. Well, sometimes I show it, but when my cameras die and I have to change the batteries in the middle of recording, um, you guys don't see the days when there's sometimes like you really have to be in the headspace, in the mood to record. And because I try to stick to a schedule, there's some days where I'm literally not in the mood and I have to literally like do a bunch of exercises to just like get myself there so that I can show up on camera the best version of myself, whatever that looks like. And if it's not the best version of myself, then I will say that. And some days, if I have it planned and I'm just not feeling it, then I just don't do it. And then that kind of throws off my whole schedule. So it's that. And then, you know, sometimes I have to like re record shit because I'm stumbling over my words. That's stressful. Sometimes I have a whole outline and an idea, and then I'm just not vibing with it, and so I scrap it. And honestly, the hardest part, which is not what I imagined, is the fucking clips for social media. Because I go through my whole episode and I try to highlight things that are clippable, but then you have to edit each individual clip, put the captions, do all of the things, add the little end card. And I am sure that there's a faster way than what I'm probably doing it, but I haven't figured that out yet, so I'm working on it. But as of right now, the clips are so hard, and engaging in posting on social media sounds easy, but it's really difficult for me because if you know, I've always been on social media, but not like social on social media. So like I might post here and there. I don't really like respond and comment and interact on social media, but now I have to do that. Like I have to show up, I have to read the comments, I have to respond back to people. And so that is different for me mentally. So I'm working on that. So yeah, like that's really it. But overall it's like I'm really excited about the podcast. I really love it. It's something that I feel like I never really had something since like I was a cheerleader in high school that I just really enjoyed and I loved, and I was doing it because I liked it until this. And so I'm hoping that I just can keep it up, stay consistent, and it just keeps growing. Because I will say, although I'm doing it because I really like it, when you do get like the visibility and you see people are watching and they're liking it and they are tuning in to every episode, like that's encouraging and that makes it feel worth it, and that makes me want to keep doing it. Because obviously if you were just doing all this and then talking to yourself, like you'd be like, what the fuck? So when people are watching and viewing and listening, that's super encouraging. So other than that, plans for Q2. I would say when it comes to the podcast, I am gonna do more solo episodes. I am just starting to realize like my voice is the value here, and I think that my perspective is enough. But I still, like I said, am gonna incorporate guests that are like my friends and family, but I just don't want it to become an interview podcast. That was never the goal. I do want to share like more of my life, not just my opinions, but all of the stuff that's in between, like what I'm learning, what's been hard, what I'm unlearning, like what I'm healing from, all of the things. Like I don't want to just be commenting on other things that are happening, but also give more perspective to the whole version that makes up Danielle. I want to be more intentional with the topics that I'm talking about, and also just focus, like I said, on building a community around the podcast. Those are the goals. But for now, I do want to talk shit about something else. And honestly, there's a ton of shit that happened on social media, but the one that has been the most recent that has really stressed me out a little bit. Have you guys seen the mom on TikTok? She's 26, she has 6 kids, and one on the way. Now, I've seen a lot of different takes and I've seen a lot of different opinions. Some people are saying, oh, who cares? She has 6 kids and she's taking care of them. And other people are like, what the fuck? I'm a what the fuck kind of person, but let me explain why. Because I feel like, I'm not sure if I've seen this take, but I'm literally speaking from experience. There is no way. There's absolutely no way that as a parent with that many children that you are able to care for, love, show up, support, be there for that many people. It's impossible for one person to do it. And it has nothing to do with money. I say the same shit about Nick Cannon. You cannot be a good dad and be there and love and support all of these kids without somebody feeling neglected. And I am speaking from experience, and I've seen it and I've lived it. You cannot do it. Next, the girl on TikTok she's living in poverty. She talks about how, she gets her government assistance, yada, yada, yada. I personally don't give a fuck who takes advantage of the government. Why would I care about who's taking advantage of the government? Have you seen what the fuck the government does? That's not the point. I just don't think it's responsible to bring that many people into the world when you're already in poverty and they have all these other siblings, so you're just making it worse. Like, you shouldn't want to bring your kids into poverty. Sometimes shit happens, but like, if you hear the way she talks, she's doesn't think there's anything wrong with what she's doing. And what I can't, and then she also said that, oh, she wanted to have 6 kids because she didn't feel loved. Okay, another thing, and again, these are me speculating. Her older children are gonna just end up being second parents that have to help her raise the kids, and that's not fair. And I just think that people need to like really get out of this mindset, especially parents of like, oh, I had it hard, so my kids have to learn that way or my kids have to have it hard. That's so fucking idiotic. The goal should always be to give your kids something better than what you had, not just make them go through the same struggles because you had to. That's literally idiotic. And I just don't understand how it happens. Like, first of all, who the fuck would want to be pregnant 6 times? I've never even been pregnant, but I assume it's not all the way an enjoyable experience. Like, I don't think giving birth is an enjoyable experience. It doesn't look like it. Now, and again, speculating because I haven't given birth and I have never been pregnant. But I know good and hell well that if it's anything close to how a period feels, I don't want to do that 6 times. And also, like, I just don't understand. Like, it is so easy to not get pregnant. Again, I'm speaking from experience. Like, it's easy to not get pregnant. Birth control is very simple and it's also super cheap in most places. And if she's on government assistance, like getting birth control is easy, I think. I'm pretty sure with like Medicaid. But it's just sad because, first of all, like she's still young and she had kids really young, and it's just like an unfortunate situation. However, I will say that she seems to be fine with it and she's okay with how she's living. And so I guess that's all that matters. I just think it's really irresponsible. And I know someone like this that just keeps fucking having kids. And it's like mind blowing to me. It doesn't make sense. And I just think that when you're thinking about bringing kids into the world, you should think about it a little bit more. I don't think it should be a, on the fly thing, a random thing, an everyday thing, something that you just keep on doing. Like, there's too much going in the world and there's too much at risk when you have children that you just shouldn't fuck around and play games with it. Like, to bring a life into this world and be responsible for raising them and making them into good humans that you can send out into the world to do things on their own is not something you should take lightly. And it's a really big responsibility. And you can't do that responsibility effectively for that many people. You can't spread yourself that thin. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, I don't know how long it's been, but I will say going into Q2, I just want to really work on like a few things. One, I want to do better at giving myself more credit, giving myself a little bit more grace. I wanted to get better at getting back into my routines. I really thrive on structure. And the last thing, which I already said, is like I want to stop over planning and just action it. That's it. Like, I'm going to be 31 in June, which is, oh my God, insane, crazy. Anywho, by the time that you guys watch this, I will be in the DR again for LJ's birthday. And so I will share more about that once we go. And I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Oh, I forgot to talk about the new segment that I'm going to have on this here podcast, WWDD, What Would Danielle Do, where you guys can submit your craziest, most outrageous, outlandish situations, or they could just be regular life shit. And I'm going to give you my opinion on what I would do or how I would handle the situation. Kind of like advice but better situation from someone who cares. I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it honest. I'm going to tell you like it is and tell you exactly how I would handle the situation. So, submit your scenarios, whatever shit you're going through. I'm going to leave that link in the bio. We do have a submission today that we're going to go through. So, I'm going to do that. This one's pretty good, I personally thought, but I'll let you guys kind of be the judge of that. Okay, hold on. Let me get another drink. Okay, here is what it says. It says, I grew up in a small town, very tight-knit, black, deeply rooted in tradition, and to be honest, a little struggly. My parents worked hard, but we were always one missed check away from losing everything. I didn't have much, but I did have a lot of ambition. From a young age, I told myself I was going to make it out, and I did. I got scholarships to college, I worked 2 jobs through grad school, and eventually I landed a 6-figure job in the city. I travel now, I drive a luxury car, I eat sushi. That's funny, I was talking about eating sushi. That doesn't come from a grocery store. I live a life I once only dreamed about. But ever since I got successful, things with my family have gotten weird. When I come home, they roll their eyes if I mention work. My sister jokes and says things like, oh, look, here comes the rich one. My uncle calls me Hollywood every time he sees me. And at Thanksgiving, when I brought a charcuterie board instead of Velveeta Rotel dip, my cousin said, oh, so you forgot about the struggle, huh? A charcuterie board sounds like a fucking bop to me. On Thanksgiving, you can just graze and pick stuff up off the charcuterie board. That's a good idea. Anyways, and the worst part is they say it like they're joking, but it really doesn't feel like a joke. It feels like they're throwing shade. They act like I've changed, like success rewrote who I am. But honestly, I did change. I healed. I grew up. I became a better version of myself. I created a life full of intention and soft joy because I didn't want to keep surviving. I really wanted to thrive. And now I feel stuck. If I show up as my full self, I feel judged. But if I dim my light to make them more comfortable, I feel like I'm betraying myself. I love my family deeply, but I'm tired of being made to feel like I'm the outsider for becoming everything that I prayed to be. How do I set boundaries without carrying all this guilt? Well, that's hard. So first I just want to say thank you for writing in because that is actually tough. And I wouldn't say that I directly experience that same type of situation. I did like leave my hometown and go to college and move to a city, but I don't feel like anyone in my family makes me feel bad about it. Now, like people make comments here and there, and if they do say stuff, it's never directly towards me, but like my little sister will be like, my sister's rich, so I'm gonna go to her for the like things like that. Like it's very complimentary versus her throwing shade at me. And so I wouldn't say I've directly, experienced that, but I would say that a lot of times, like when you level up and you start to evolve past what people who are close to you have done, they sometimes will not be inspired but be a little bit jealous, or they'll say, oh, you think you're better than everyone else. And it's like, no, I don't think I'm better than everyone else. You think I'm better than everyone else, and that's a you problem, not a me problem. That's where I would start. Now, I am a little bit more outspoken. So what I just said is exactly what I would say if someone were to make a comment to me like that. And I don't think that success means that you forget where you come where you come from, none of that. Like, when I think about that for myself, I'm like, I love my family and I love the life that I lived as a kid and where I came from, but the goal was always to make it out. That was the goal. It always has been the goal, and it was the goal for me from a very young age. So once I do that, that's what it is. Like, you worked for it, you sacrificed, you probably prayed, hustled, cried, went through all of these things. You shouldn't feel guilty for building a life that you want. And you would hope that the people that are in your family or that see it see that as an example. Like, that is for me what I always wanted it to be. I have a ton of siblings and a ton of people that I grew up with, and I never wanted them to look at me like, oh, she thinks she's better. I wanted them to look at me and be like, oh, if she did it, why the fuck could I not do it? I want them to say, oh, I know someone who did X, Y, and Z. So then they come to me for advice or for questions or help with things that I've already done. That is how I would want it to be. I think for your family, you need to not like entertain their disrespect. And sometimes, a lot of times when people make jokes, they're rooted in truth and how they really feel. And my favorite thing to do when someone's saying something fucking ridiculous is to get them in the moment. So when they say something like, you think you're better than everyone else, and say, do I or do you? Ask them right then and there. Or when they say something like, oh, whatever, I don't know what the fuck the comments are. I I need to look back and see what the exact comments were, but you should ask them in the moment, say, could you explain that a little bit more? I'm not really understanding what you're saying, because when you put people on the spot like that and they have to, go through their stupidity and say it out loud, they usually don't do well with that. So I would just say that you start there, and then if you are more comfortable, maybe having a conversation with them and saying like, hey, what you're doing is fucking shitty and you're making me feel bad, and if you want to live the life that I live, then I'd be happy to help you get there, but stop fucking being shady. There's that. And then in the meantime, you can kind of maybe figure out how to navigate, being around your family, and see if you need to be around a little less, or, they'll probably have something to say about that. But I think if you address the conversation instead of maybe like laughing with them or joking with them, like, it's not fucking funny. Okay? So set those boundaries, speak up for yourself in the moment, and tell them like, hey, I'd be happy to help you get here too, but if that's not what you want, then shut your fucking mouth. Okay? That's it. All right. Thank you for submitting. If you guys have any shit you want to talk about, you can submit that in the description. I'm going to get out of here because my cameras are probably going to die. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a comment, give me your feedback, your thoughts. I want to know what you guys did in Q1. What are you getting up to in Q2? And I think that's it. So I'll be back in the next episode. And I think that's it. I think I said that already, but whatever. Bye, guys. Okay. Like, people make comments here and there, and if they do say stuff, it's never directly towards me, but like my little sister will be like, my sister's rich, so I'm gonna go to her for the, like, things like that. Like, it's very complimentary versus her throwing shade at me. And so I wouldn't say I've directly, experienced that, but I would say that a lot of times, like, when you level up and you start to evolve past what people who are close to you have done, they sometimes will not be inspired but be a little bit jealous, or they'll say, oh, you think you're better than everyone else. And it's like, no, I don't think I'm better than everyone else. you think I'm better than everyone else, and that's a you problem, not a me problem. That's where I would start. Now, I am a little bit more outspoken. So, what I just said is exactly what I would say if someone were to make a comment to me like that. And I don't think that success means that you forget where you come from. None of that. Like, when I think about that for myself, I'm like, I love my family and I love the life that I lived as a kid and where I came from, but the goal was always to make it out. That was the goal. It always has been the goal, and it was the goal for me from a very young age. So once I do that, that's what it is. Like, you worked for it, you sacrificed, you probably prayed, hustled, cried, went through all of these things. You shouldn't feel guilty for building a life that you want. And you would hope that the people that are in your family or that see that as an example. Like, that is for me what I always wanted it to be. I have a ton of siblings and a ton of people that I grew up with, and I never wanted them to look at me like, oh, she thinks she's better. I wanted them to look at me and be like, oh, if she did it, why the fuck could I not do it? I want them to say, oh, I know someone who did X, Y, and Z. So then they come to me for advice or for questions or help with things that I've already done. That is how I would want it to be. I think for your family, you need to not like entertain their disrespect. And sometimes a lot of times when people make jokes, they're rooted in truth and how they really feel. And my favorite thing to do when someone's saying something fucking ridiculous is to get them in the moment. So when they say something like, you think you're better than everyone else, and say, do I or do you? Ask them right then and there. Or when they say something like, oh, whatever, I don't know what the fuck the comments are. I need to look back and see what the exact comments were, but you should ask them in the moment, say, could you explain that a little bit more? I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Because when you put people on the spot like that and they have to, go through their stupidity and say it out loud, they usually don't do well with that. So I would just say that you start there, and then if you are more comfortable, maybe having a conversation with them and saying like, hey, what you're doing is fucking shitty and you're making me feel bad, and if you want to live the life that I live, then I'd be happy to help you get there, but stop fucking being shady. There's that. And then in the meantime, you can kind of maybe figure out how to navigate, being around your family, and see if you need to be around a little less, or, they'll probably have something to say about that. But I think if you address the conversation instead of maybe like laughing with them or joking with them, like, it's not fucking funny. Okay? So set those boundaries, speak up for yourself in the moment, and tell them like, hey, I'd be happy to help you get here too, but if that's not what you want, then shut your fucking mouth. Okay? That's it. All right. Thank you for submitting. If you guys have any shit you want to talk about, you can submit that in the description. I'm going to get out of here because my cameras are probably going to die. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a comment, give me your feedback, your thoughts. I want to know what you guys did in Q1. What are you getting up to in Q2? And I think that's it. So I'll be back in the next episode. And I think that's it. I think I said that already, but whatever. Bye, guys. Hey, guys. It's Danielle again. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Subjective. This whole production was directed, executive produced, and brought to life by yours truly. Remember, all rights reserved, so don't even think about trying to steal my shit. Catch you in the next episode.